LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. On this Monday means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Fired up, you're starting your work week off with us, and we appreciate it very, very much. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and we have got plenty to cover over the next 2 hours. Are we watching the beginning of the end of this era of New Orleans Saints football? We'll chat about that at the bottom of this hour. Certainly got to get to my SEC picks against the spread in hour number 2. It was a wild weekend, an incredible weekend in college football on Denton Day. We'll be here to cover all of it coming up at 2:30 in his normal spot. We'll also talk a little Commanders with Denton as they played tough at Baltimore, but weren't able to get the win there. So they dropped that one after a great 3-game winning streak there for Washington. So we'll chat with Denton here coming up at 2:30. We got to start with LSU and Ole Miss. That'll be our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge, brand new sponsor here of the Hunt Palmer Show, and we certainly do appreciate them. It was an incredible day on campus at LSU, an incredible day on campus. It started with ridiculous traffic, which is fine with me. A lot of people were going the same place, and if it takes some time to get there and it takes some time to leave, that's okay. But the buzz on campus all day was absolutely palpable. It was awesome. The weather was good. A little warm, but the weather was really good. The energy was great, and that was evident when we did the pregame show out there between the Rams and the PMAC. When you got into the stadium, it was absolutely packed. The vibes were great. The energy was awesome. And what ensued over the next 4+ hours was absolutely incredible theater. It was a historic rivalry. It was sensational uniforms. It was exciting football. There were twists and turns and drama, and the game was in the balance late. And you got the incredible drama and the home team pulling it off. And it was just an incredible day. And that was what we talked about all week leading up to the game was, this doesn't happen all the time. It's not all the time that LSU has a good team and a good record. It's not all the time that the opponent is really, really good. It's not all the time that the game is played at night. It's not all the time that the weather is good. And when you get all those ingredients and they all come together, what can happen is really, really special. And Saturday night was really, really special. We will talk about that one forever. On Friday afternoon, from Lod Cook, I interviewed Brad Davis. Brad Davis did not win the Heisman Trophy. His teams did not win a national championship. He did not go on to an illustrious NFL career or make that Hall of Fame. Brad Davis is a dentist in Louisiana. But he's Brad Davis because of Burt Jones to Brad Davis on one Saturday night in Death Valley. And that's what we got on Saturday night. I thought the actual key to the game was that LSU did what Brian Kelly has been calling for since last year. Brian Kelly has been calling for complementary football since they came off the field in the ReliaQuest Bowl, and he made wholesale changes to his defense. And after the game, he said this: many people were expecting maybe a similar shootout to last year. I didn't think that would be the case. I can't say enough about the defensive effort tonight. Sacks, harassing the quarterback, making big plays when they needed to, and that's what we've been talking about in terms of getting better every single week on both sides of the ball. That was complementary football. That's what he said, and that's a term we have used, or he has used, time and time and time again, trying to get this program to a championship level. You can't play at a championship level the way they played defense last year. And he said in his press conference today, we didn't tackle anybody last year. Like, that was a direct quote. And that's true. They were terrible last year. LSU did not play complimentary football last year really at any point. The offense was carrying the entire weight all year long. And if they faltered like they did in the second half against Florida State and got blown out, when Jaden got hurt against Alabama and they got blown out, If they faltered, they lost. They had to be perfect in the second half against Arkansas and score every single time down the field. They had to be perfect against Missouri. And finally, the defense got a couple turnovers. But they've been working towards being complementary. I didn't say dominant. I said complementary. And listen to these examples of the two units, the offense and the defense, giving and taking and working together. It started in the first drive of the game. LSU, of course, takes the football. As we talked about on Friday, they will take the ball. I don't like it. It's going to happen. It just is what it is. But they go 3 and out in 40-something seconds. 3 and out, 40 seconds. Well, that's a point where Ole Miss can take control and throw the first punch because they're going to get the ball back. LSU's defense gets a 3 and out immediately. That's complimentary. I know you falter on offense, defense comes right back. Nussmeier has his first pass intercepted. Ball gets tipped up. Ole Miss intercepts it. They run it back into the red zone to the 13-yard line. Well, that's real trouble. The defense bailed them out. Got a 4th down stop. No points allowed. Then Ole Miss gets a field goal. Ole Miss gets the ball back. They go and get the 50-yard touchdown run to go up 10-0. Well, the defense finally buckled. They bailed you out 2 times early, but they finally buckled. What's the offense going to do? The next drive, offense goes 75 yards in 6 plays, touchdown to Trey Green. That's complimenting. Was the defense doing it early? The offense bails them out. Ole Miss immediately at that point goes back down, and they score a touchdown at 17-7. The offense does respond. They go get a field goal. Then, after that field goal, the defense gets the fumble. Whit Weeks knocks it out, lets LSU kick another field goal. So you've really had 2 and 2 in the first half of, well, we faltered here, but the other unit picks you up. That's complimentary. Second half, third quarter, Ole Miss gets a field goal with 17-17 to go in the third quarter. They take a lead. LSU goes right back, down 7, and gets that field goal answered to cut it back to 4. Well, then the LSU defense makes a big play. Zai gets the interception in the end zone where Ole Miss is threatening to go up 2 scores. If you were watching the game or you were in Tiger Stadium or wherever you were paying attention, you realize that if Ole Miss went up 2 scores, it was going to be trouble. And they had a chance there, and Zai picks off the pass. Well, Nussmeier then makes his worst decision of the day and throws the pop fly down the field and gives Ole Miss an easy interception. That was his worst moment of the game. But the defense holds and forces a punt, complimenting the offense. Last year, if Jaden throws that interception, the defense is going to give it right up. You know that. You're going to go down 2 scores, you're going to be toast. This defense held and forced the punt. And then up 20-16, Ole Miss is driving. They get all the way down to the 23, where they could, again, go up 2 scores, and the defense holds to a field goal. And the offense goes 75 yards for the touchdown at the end. And then, of course, in overtime, both units played great. LSU forces the hold on first down. The crowd gets into it. That's complimenting the entire team. And you get the penalties on Ole Miss to back them up. Ole Miss incomplete with 3 passes, 57-yard field goal. I cannot believe the kid made that, but he did. Credit to him. It's a huge kick. And then LSU goes right there for it on the first play and hits it. But there were 3 instances where Ole Miss had a chance to go up 2 scores and the defense held every time. The offense had the defense's back. When Ole Miss would score, the offense would go down there and score. The 2 units worked together. And no one is going to suggest that for LSU to allow Ole Miss to have 464 yards is some sort of dominant defensive effort. It's not. But you held Ole Miss to 23 points in regulation. That's good enough to win. It's just like you were in position against USC, had them held to only 13 points midway through the fourth quarter, and then you gave up the 2 late drives. But the defense did enough and made enough big plays and made enough stops to let the offense get its rhythm, which it did not have in the first quarter. Garrett Nussmeier started 3 of 11 in this game. And I wouldn't suggest that he was at his absolute best in this game, which he said after the game it was his worst game of his career. I realize it's not a huge sample size, but those 2 turnovers were rough, and his completion percentage was 43%. None of it was spectacular. The running game wasn't spectacular. Nussmeier wasn't spectacular for the entirety of the game. The defense didn't dominate. But what did you get? Complimentary, big-time clutch efforts when you needed them, really from everywhere. The pass rush was outstanding, 6 sacks. At the line of scrimmage, you had 9 tackles for loss. In the secondary, you made some plays. I mentioned the Zy Alexander pick. His Pro Football Focus grades were sensational in coverage, almost 90. Then you get P.J. Woodland with the pass breakup late in the game. Like you had some guys in position to make some plays in the secondary, and they did that. And then offensively, there were some tough sledding. Ole Miss is good on defense, but you made sensational plays when you had to, and we'll talk about that in the next segment, what Garrett Nussmeier did in the game, and you did enough to win. If they play that game again in Tiger Stadium, I don't know if LSU wins. If they play that game again at a neutral site, I don't know if LSU wins. They play that game in Oxford, I think LSU's in some trouble. But that was the point when we looked at this schedule back in August, and you start looking at how things are going to shake out. You look at what you thought would be LSU's toughest conference games, and they were at home. And that was going to be a huge advantage for LSU. And Saturday night, that crowd was a huge advantage for LSU. It spurred the LSU team on. It inspired the defense. It made communication tough on Ole Miss. And the Tigers, with complimentary football, got it done. It was an epic, epic, epic night in Tiger Stadium, and one that I think furthered the program along. You are showing quite obviously that there are improvements being made because of this coaching staff on defense. And the offense hasn't really taken a huge step back, even though you lost all those key cogs from last year. LSU may lose to Arkansas. They may lose the next 2. They're tough spots to play on the schedule and based on location on the road. Then you got Alabama coming in here. Like, it's no joke. And you're watching that in the SEC every week. Tennessee's in dogfights with Vanderbilt. Tennessee's in dogfights with Arkansas and losing, and with Florida. Alabama loses at Vanderbilt. They're in a dogfight with South Carolina. Georgia is scuffling against Mississippi State. Texas is struggling with Mississippi State in the first half. Like, it's a tough league right now. And every win should be celebrated. And right now, LSU has all of its goals that it set out to accomplish in August on the table. Ole Misses are in trouble, and we talked about that all week. Right now, LSU is set up for some really good things. They just got to keep getting better on the defensive side of the ball, and I thought that was a huge step in the right direction on Saturday night. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. When we come back, let's talk about Garrett Nussmeier and what we saw from him in the ballgame Saturday night in Death Valley. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is that website. Mitchell Fisher and his team, just fantastic, fantastic people right here locally in Baton Rouge, whether it's on the audio side with surround sound, whether it's the video side with mounting your televisions or getting that home entertainment system set up just the way you want it, or security. Keep that house safe and sound. They can handle all of it at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check out the Instagram, AVSS_BR. Or check them out online, avssla.com. They both offer great examples of some of the capabilities that Audio Video Security Solutions has. And one of those that I don't talk about every week, but I think it is important, is Wi-Fi. If your Wi-Fi struggles a little bit at home or in the office, maybe because of where you sit or where you're trying to stream or you're trying to get onto your phone and the Wi-Fi is just spotty in the house here or there, get some mesh Wi-Fi and boost that signal in your home. You can elevate that all over the place with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Don't ask me how that works. I don't know. I don't understand any of it. Mitchell Fisher and his team do, and I can promise you this, that installation is going to be seamless, and the customer service after the installation is first class. We love at the Palmer House working with the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. You should as well. Check them out online, avssla.com, avssla.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Moving right along here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Printing, copying, scanning, whatever line of work that you're in. If you've got a printer, copier, scanner, Gulf Coast Office Products needs to be your first call. GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. There was a lot of good in the game for LSU on Saturday night. We will talk about Whit Weeks. We will talk about Braden Swenson. Both of them were honored by the SEC today. Whit Weeks, for his 18-tackle performance, was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Braden Swenson added 2 sacks. He was the Defensive Lineman of the Week in the SEC. The pass protection was exemplary all night long against a relentless pass rush. That was fantastic to see. Trey'Dez Green with a touchdown. Aaron Anderson with a big play. Mason Taylor coming up huge late. There was a lot of good. Zy Alexander, we mentioned. LSU safeties were very good as well. There's a lot of good. But here's the deal. This LSU team is going to be in Garrett Nussmeier's hands far more often than not. That's just the reality of the situation. And after the game, Brian Kelly talked about Garrett's performance on Saturday night.
Garrett would tell you that, there were things that he learned. I thought he grew more today than at any time that he's been here. That was a growth game for him. And you may see it differently. But as a coach, the growth that he was able to exhibit through that game and at the end is going to serve him well.
Here's the deal. Garrett Nussmeier said after the game it was the worst game of his career. I'll say that up front is what he said. That was his quote. And statistically, you can back that up. I mean, he completed 43% of his throws. He was 22 of 51. He turned it over twice, and one of them was absolutely heinous in a huge spot in the game when LSU had made a defensive play. Zy picks the ball off in the end zone. It's time to go back down there, take the lead, and take control of the game. And Nussmeier throws a pop-up down the left sideline that is basically caught like a punt by the Ole Miss secondary. It was awful. So if you take all of that, 43%, starting 3 of 11, 2 interceptions, one of them was terrible, the other one set Ole Miss up at the 13-yard line, all that's bad, sure, no question. But if you really want to talk in nuance about Garrett Nussmeier's performance on Saturday, in the big picture, I thought it was sensational because you have to take everything into account. LSU's running game did not do very well. Caden Durham never got loose. He averaged 3 yards a carry on his 12 carries. He had one play down the sideline that he busted, but it got called back for holding. Josh Williams was okay. And then Caleb Jackson came in for the 1 4th down and got blown up in the backfield. But LSU's running backs, Durham and Williams, accounted for 71 yards, and then you take Jackson's 3 away. So you're looking at 68 yards on 22 carries. That's just not a successful running game. And Ole Miss at that point, especially with the lead, can pin their ears back and try to rush the passer. And you're talking about Princely Umanmielen, you're talking about Jared Ivey, you're talking about Walter Nolan, you're talking about J.J. Pegues, you're talking about Sontaran Perkins. Like, these guys are NFL pass rushers. They will cash checks at the next level for getting after the quarterback. And they're all coming. And oh, by the way, if you were watching the game on Saturday, did you see a ton of separation by LSU's wide receivers? LSU was working in tight windows. I mean, as I mentioned, those first 3 drives LSU had, where Nussmeier starts 3 of 11, like, they're not open. He's making throws and balls are getting knocked down. But Nussmeier never quit. He never flinched. He got the ball out quickly, even if he was under pressure. He never got sacked. Credit to the offensive line, credit to Nussmeier, both there. And when LSU needed big throws, he made them. I mean, the 2 4th down throws on the last drive were sensational. LSU's facing a 4th down, game's on the line, and Nussmeier on the first one to Mason Taylor, on that one that was just past the sticks on the left side of the formation, he moved a little bit to his left, and that was not an open throw. Taylor was not covered, but there was a man on him. And the ball had to be put out in front of Taylor, and it had to be put right on the face mask, and Garrett Nussmeier zipped it in there, on the money. And then you get to 4th and 6 after you ran the ball on 3rd down with 33 seconds to go in the game, and you've got to have it. And I know that Garrett Nussmeier threw it in rhythm, and I know that if you were watching that game on television, that it looked like, because of where Nussmeier threw it, where Anderson caught it at the 1-yard line, and how he fell into the end zone, it looked like a great throw at an open receiver. Go back and look at Wilson Alexander's Twitter, or go back and watch the end zone cut on YouTube. When Garrett Nussmeier releases this football, Aaron Anderson is almost not even visible to him, because the defender is literally in line between Garrett Nussmeier and Aaron Anderson. Anderson has not crossed his face to come open. And with the game on the line, incomplete, you're done. Season goals about over. You got 2 losses, 1 to a team you think you're competing with for a playoff spot. You need 5-6 yards, and you chuck it to the end zone for 20. And I mean, on the freaking money, to a guy that wasn't even open when he made the throw. That is an NFL throw. NFL throw. When you absolutely had to have it. And now you start to think about some of these games. You fall behind 17-0 at South Carolina. You were down to Wisconsin in the bowl game last year. You had to go 75 yards on Ole Miss. And Garrett Nussmeier has delivered and delivered and delivered. No, not necessarily against USC. That was a little bit more on the defense allowing those 2 drives. But in 3 of 4 instances where you had to have it late in games from your quarterback, he has delivered. Think about the throw he made to Lacey to get LSU down in there into touchdown range at South Carolina. Great throw. And then incredible throws to Mason Taylor and Aaron Anderson. And here's the deal with Nussmeier. Like, I don't believe, Brian Kelly talked about this today. We got to get better running the ball. And I believe that. And I think they probably will get a little bit better running the ball. But they're not going to be a dynamic running team. They're just not. They're better at pass blocking. Read my Pro Football Focus grade story up on LouisianaSports.net, and you'll see, like, the offensive lineman pass block grade, incredible. They had 59 dropbacks against that pass rush and didn't give up a sack. That's incredible, y'all. Incredible. But they don't run it great, and they're not going to, I don't think. And LSU's defense is improving, and they got some good players, and I think they'll give LSU a chance, but they're not going to dominate. Sure, they might smother Oklahoma here. Maybe they can put a muzzle on Vanderbilt in that running attack. It's possible. I'm not saying they will or won't. It's possible. What's not going to happen is they all of a sudden look like Georgia from 2 years ago. So what I'm getting at here is they're not going to run it great. They're not going to be a dominant defense. that means that the difference in winning and losing in these tiny margins that the SEC has become this year. I just talked about that in the last segment. These margins are so small in every game. Bama to Vanderbilt. Tennessee and Arkansas. LSU and South Carolina. LSU and Ole Miss. Ole Miss and Kentucky. Tennessee and Florida. Like, these are really tight football games. And the difference in winning and losing, I think, moving forward, is largely going to rest on 13. You need him to be awesome. And he already has proven he can make the highlight reel play. He can make the pro throw, the anticipatory throw, the deep ball, the arm strength. He can do all that. What's got to happen is you got to quit with these turnovers. You had one interception wiped off because of the horse collar at South Carolina. You had a potentially game-losing interception return for a touchdown come back for the unnecessary roughness on Kennard when he hit Nussmeier at South Carolina. And you had two very, very, very untimely turnovers on Saturday night. I get it, one's a tipped ball. That's not always controllable. But that interception he threw after the Alexander interception was terrible. And you can't have that. But he threw for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns on what might be the best defense LSU plays this year. I'll listen to Oklahoma. I'll listen to Alabama. I'll listen to Texas A&M, maybe even Arkansas based on what they did to Tennessee, but Florida held Tennessee down for 3 quarters. But Ole Miss might be the best defense you play. And he threw for 337 and 3 touchdowns in a huge, huge, huge game. LSU's got a good quarterback. I know there were a ton of y'all that were all over him on Saturday night. I get it. My Twitter was flooded. And maybe you still feel that way. Maybe you don't based on the last few throws that he made. But you look at this guy and the throws that he's made and what he's being asked to do with a mediocre at best running game, some wide receivers that are struggling to get separation, good SEC defenses, and a defense that's not going to hold teams, generally speaking, to 14 or 17 points. He's doing a lot, and I think he's doing a great job. And I thought his demeanor and his mindset after the game where he said, look, that's the worst I've played, and I got to play better than that. That kind of gives you a glimpse into the kind of guy that he is. And he rose in the biggest moments. And I'll tell you this as we close here on Nussmeier. Like, he didn't do much reading the defense on that first play of overtime. I think when they broke the huddle, whatever, on the sideline and decided what they had, he was going to Lacey. And he snapped it, and he hit that pump fake, and then he just threw it up one-on-one. And that's a picture that is going to be hanging in Baton Rouge restaurants for years to come because the Ole Miss corner ends up on his head, literally, and Kyron's just standing there as the crowd erupts to win the game. It was an incredible picture inside Tiger Stadium. It was an incredible night, and I thought it was an incredible performance and a gutty performance by the starting quarterback. Statistically, there were some issues, but when LSU had to have it, Garrett Nussmeier showed up with it. And I thought it was awesome to see on Saturday night. Moving right along here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. You want your LSU football talk, you can get it on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. Hunt on LSU. Our LSU segments posted there each and every day. When we come back, we will switch gears, sadly, because New Orleans got absolutely run out of their own building back on Sunday. And are we looking at the end of an era? Possibly. Let's do it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Got to make LeBair's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. They've got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet in person. And I'll be at ESPN Bet in person coming up on Thursday for Thursday Night Football. That'll be the Saints hosting Sean Payton and the Broncos. So come on out and see us on Thursday night. I also invite you to join the SEC Pick'em contest. You can download the Cover 5 app, put in the code LABRSEC24. This week, I went 3-2. I scored 36 points. That was 19th best. I'm 22nd overall for the season. You can jump in and compete. You just got to do really well to catch up now that we're 6 weeks in. But you can do it. If you're not a member, get the Pin Play app today. LeBair's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Join us at Pro Dreams in Mandeville for our special event, A Day of Champions. Meet LSU National Championship winning head coaches Jay Johnson, Skip Bertman, and Paul Maneri. Don't miss your chance to purchase authentic sports memorabilia, autographed by the champions themselves. It's the perfect opportunity to celebrate LSU baseball and take home a piece of history. Visit pro-dreams.com to get your tickets. See you there.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Ugly one in the Dome yesterday. Tampa Bay 51, Saints 27. A wild game. There were storylines that just flipped mid-game like 3 different times. It started out a disaster. Tampa going right up and down the field. You get a iffy call on Olave, scoop and score. Could it have been helmet to helmet? Could it have been incomplete? It was neither. Tampa picks it up and scores. And it's 17-0 right out of the chute. But then the Saints scored 27 points in the second quarter. It's just a ridiculous run of quality offense, getting some turnovers, catching some breaks, and you're in the lead. You've got control of the game. You're thinking, okay, well, Rattler looks okay now. They've got him comfortable, and you've kind of taken control of the game. It looked like it was going to get away from you. Okay, well, let's finish. Well, they did not finish. They lost the second half 27-0. And I think at that point, the storyline shifted away from, okay, what do you have in Rattler? Is that exciting? Is that something they can build on? They look okay in the division standings. All right, let's settle in and get ready for a home game in 4 days. To, you've lost 4 in a row. You're 2-4. Your starting quarterback's hurt for a couple more weeks. You're on a short week. The fan base is ticked off. And, oh, by the way, the foundation of what this era of the franchise was built on is crumbling. That's the defense. The story here is not Spencer Rattler's debut, 22 of 40, 2 picks, a touchdown, and 243 yards, also 27 yards running. That's not the story. The story's not really, well, Tyrann Mathieu got hurt, and Olave went out with a concussion, and they've got a bunch of injuries. The story is that Tampa Bay scored 51 points. Baker Mayfield threw for 325 yards, and Tampa ran it for 277 yards. The story here is that the New Orleans Saints have the worst defense in terms of yards per game allowed in the National Football League. And if there was one thing you could always count on with Dennis Allen at head coach, it's that the defense was going to be good. And I'm sorry, but injuries to Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy and Chris Olave and Derek Carr and Taysom Hill are not allowing Tampa to run the ball for 277 yards. They're not allowing Baker Mayfield to throw for 325 and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, you got 3 picks. Great. You do have good players in the secondary. But the defense is getting gashed. You got propped up, and maybe give yourself some credit. That's fine, but you did get propped up by red zone inefficiencies from the Chiefs last week, where it looks okay you only gave up 26, but they went up and down the field on you. Couldn't get a stop late against Atlanta. And so for 3 weeks, your defense has faltered, and that's Dennis Allen's calling card. And if you don't have that, what do you have? It's like the Office Space scene where they ask, what would you say you do here? I don't think any of us believe that Dennis Allen's had a finely tuned offense. He's finally got the staff he wants. There are injuries on that side of the ball, whatever, okay. I don't think anybody's here to say that the drafting has been sensational, that the game day management's been perfect. I don't think anyone's here to suggest that. What your main role was as the head coach of this team is to make sure the defense is at an elite level. No one was expecting the Saints to be world beaters on offense. They just wanted to be top 15, top 18 in offense with a great defense. And it's not a great defense. Cam's old. DeMario Davis is old. Tyrann Mathieu's getting old. You're not getting anything out of some of your young players like Isaiah Foskey. So you're aging a little bit. Granderson's good. Young's been good. Werner got hurt. I get it. But that what you watched on Sunday is unacceptable. And it felt more to me like the foundation slipping away than it did, you had a backup quarterback and he couldn't do anything. You only scored 20 offensive points because you ran a punt back, and the defense just kind of got tired and gave up 20 points in the fourth quarter. It to me looked like the foundation buckling. And to me, it feels like this era is slipping away. I don't really enjoy calling for people's jobs. Like, that's not, I think there are some people that love the hot take nature of that, and it generates clicks and gets a lot of buzz, and it gets people galvanized because it's always, things are always going to be great right when you fire the coach. And I think Dennis Allen has been an absolute asset in the Saints organization for a decade and a half. But I just don't see a way out of this. There are a lot of factors at play here that include injuries and some bad breaks. But let's be honest. Last year, you beat the dregs of the league at a quarterback spot, and Tommy DeVito and Tyson Bagent and an aging Tannehill, and you beat as bad as the league could offer you. And this year now, you're playing some good teams. The Buccaneers are a good offense. Kansas City's a good offense. And you can't stop them. And now we see what Dallas has been reduced to. You thought that was a great win. I would suggest maybe let's pump the brakes on that. I don't see a strength here anymore. I don't see a direction here anymore. And I see a city that's about to throw its hands up. And we all know what's coming on Thursday. It's going to be a weird environment in that Superdome. Because I don't think there's a unified stance among the Who Dat Nation on Sean Payton. I think there are plenty of Saints fans who just so much appreciate the golden era of the franchise. I think there are so many fans that feel like he quit on the franchise. I think there are so many that are in between that and kind of indifferent because he's not here anymore. But that usually a fan base is united. If you were in Tiger Stadium last night or Saturday night, nobody was divided there. It's a one-track mind. And right now, you don't have that in New Orleans. And regarding Sean Payton, I think you're starting to get it regarding Dennis Allen. And if things start going south on Thursday, that might be it. If Sean Payton comes in there with a rookie quarterback with mediocre numbers and hammers or hangs big numbers on this defense with that coach and those players in that building, I don't know how you can recover from that. That would be 5 in a row. The old coach rubbing it in your face. And the one pillar that at least everyone could point to and say, well, at least that's consistent, may be washing away. That's what it felt like to me on Sunday. Y'all know me. If on Friday we're talking about a 31-10 win over Denver, well, we'll change the conversation. And I'll say, okay, they're staying alive. Good for them. I'm just telling you how I feel today. I'm just telling you how I felt watching that game yesterday. I felt like we were watching the beginning of the end. And you could tell me that the beginning of the end was last year, and you could, whatever. That's all semantics. I'm just telling you how it felt to me. And it felt real. It felt tangible to me. And I don't know how Dennis Allen's going to handle it. I feel like he's going to pin the blame on himself as he did yesterday. He talked to reporters today, and I don't think you'll see a huge change in his demeanor because he's a pretty even-keeled guy. You don't see him throwing a fit very often. You don't see him providing really insightful, in-depth interviews and questions in press conferences. You see pretty much the same guy all the time, and I've always said that's fine. But the results will speak for the coach. And 51-27 is not an acceptable result. And 4 losses in a row is not an acceptable result. And being an under 500 team at all times when you're the head coach is an unacceptable result. And that's what it's been the entirety of Dennis Allen's time. You wish that there would be a little bit of a different story being written from an injury perspective, but we've covered that time and time and time again. No one cares. You put a roster together, you put a team together, and you go out there and you execute. And New Orleans, for a month now, hasn't done it. If you're looking for your Saints coverage, you can find it on YouTube, Hunt on Saints. Beck, I'll let you kind of chime in there after my dialogue. I didn't, when they kicked off yesterday, I didn't plan on doing that because we talked about if you lose your starting quarterback, man,
it's hard.
It's hard, but you can't give up 51 points. You cannot give up 51 points.
No, it looked like the defense just didn't really care. They didn't really in the second half after you. It was 27-24 at the end of the third quarter. And then you have that Godwin screen where he breaks 4 tackles and Alontae Taylor just bumps into him and it's just an absurd play. And then after that, the defense just completely gave up, and you're giving up 100-something plus yards to a guy that I've never heard of, running back that's got 2 carries for 7 yards. Sean Tucker had 14 carries for 136 yards, 10 yards a carry.
We were exclusively referring to him in our group chat yesterday as S. Tucker because that's like what you would see on his fantasy. Yeah. No one would even know who that was.
Who that is.
S. Tucker got and busts another one.
And then last week, Kareem Hunt hadn't played in 2 years, and he came in and got 100 yards on the Saints. It's pretty. I mean, obviously it's shocking, but yeah, if Dennis Allen, if his defense is not playing well, you have nothing. I mean, and it just goes back to what he's been as a head coach. Yeah. He's 2-9. The Saints are 2-9 with him against teams over 500. They can't beat any teams that are worth anything. They can beat up some bad teams. They beat up the Panthers. They beat up the Cowboys, who both are looking to be 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. But when you go against good competition, they can't stack up.
Look, Dennis Allen inherited a terrible situation in Oakland, it was in Oakland at that point, and it was terrible, and that's okay. And he didn't get handed, Kalen DeBoer's Alabama situation, okay, that was just a Lexus. He got an organization in fine shape. They had good players on defense. They had some good players on offense. They were in flux at quarterback, and that's a tough thing, but they felt like they could just – and they got a league average quarterback. And right now, you look at the sample size, and it's pretty large, And there's just nothing that would insinuate that you're getting closer to competing for a championship. And I just think that's the bottom line. So we'll see what happens on Thursday, and we'll certainly talk about it all week long. When we come back, can LSU rush the field after beating Ole Miss? We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you locked in a great interest rate 3-4 years ago and you're not in a hurry to move because you don't want to change that 3.5 to 6.5 on your rate, that's okay. It doesn't mean you can't improve your living situation without moving. Get David Duvall and his team to come in, redesign your bathroom totally. You've got one of those big jacuzzi-style tubs that was real popular in the 90s, but you don't ever use it. Well, take it out. That's plenty of room to put in a big walk-in shower that could change the aesthetic of your bathroom and change the functionality of your bathroom. You've got one of those small little showers that was really popular in the 70s and 80s. It's just a little square. You'd rather have a little bit more room. Use that tub room for a shower and make that shower a closet. David Duvall and his team do that all the time. You can see examples of that at their Instagram at One Bath and Closets on Instagram. You can also check out their website, OneBathAndClosets.com. You can get a free consultation. Ask about their financing, 0% for up to 18 months if you qualify. Makes things a lot easier paying for them. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. All your printing, scanning, copying needs. Check out the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. Trey Beal and his team have clients in that vertical, and they are happy to help you and understand how to help you with your printing, scanning, and copying needs. Baton Rouge Business Report, #1 office supplier in the city. It's Gulf Coast Office Products. Statewide, they can help you out. GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. LSU had to cut Ole Miss a check for $250,000 over the weekend because Tiger fans rushed the field after the overtime win over the Rebels. And it's drawn some attention, like should LSU be rushing the field? It seems to happen like once a year at this point. And people have strong opinions on it, and that's fine. You're not going to catch a super strong one here. It's just the reality of the situation. If you ask me my preference, I don't think you need to rush. You can rush the field beating Alabama, beating Nick Saban, Brian Kelly's first year, overtime win, last play of the game. You want to rush the field when you beat Alabama, I'm kind of cool with that. I'd prefer it not against Ole Miss, but here's the situation. And it's not just field rushing. It's playing neck. It's giving out the bracelets they gave out that blow up. When you get 18,000 college kids, half to 3/4 of which are drunk, if you're going to try to get rational behavior out of that group of humans, your expectations are completely out of whack. Just is what it is. That group of people gets in there and cannot wait to sing the words to Neck, and they haven't played Neck in that stadium in almost a decade. They just that's the #1 goal of that entire group is to go in there and yell that, and they do it 11 times a game.
Doesn't matter what song, they just figure it out.
Because they're 18 and 21 and 22, and 18 and 21 and 22-year-olds are drunk and just don't make great choices. It's just part of it. I was there. I was plenty drunk, and I made plenty of terrible choices. Just flatly. It is what it is. And so if you don't want them to throw those things on the field, they're going to throw them on the field because they're entertained by stupid stuff. And if you give them the opportunity or an excuse to run on the football field, they're going to do it. It's just, so having expectations for that group of people is just not realistic. Trust me, I spent 5 years, let's be clear, I had a full victory lap in that student section. And I loved every minute of it. And I'm now 36 and wouldn't want to sit there if you paid me to go do it. It just is what it is. But trying to rein it in and have expectations for the student section, and then once they go, everybody's going to go. But it's just not going to happen. So you can try to have this. And trust me, I talk all the time about my ego being an LSU fan. It pained me all of last week to suggest that I thought Ole Miss had a better team than LSU. To suggest that I thought that Ole Miss's program was in a better place than LSU. That pains my ego as a guy who's watched LSU win 3 national championships in front of my own 2 eyes. But that's the way that I felt about it. And Ole Miss has won more games than LSU the last 3 years. And Ole Miss was in the top 10 when you beat them. And it was a big game, and it was really emotional, and that happened at the end. I don't care if they rush the field. I wish LSU could save the $250,000 to pay recruits with, but it is what it is. You have any hot takes on field storming?
No, not really. I would agree with you. I would say maybe not rush the field against Ole Miss and save that one for maybe if you beat Alabama later in the year. But at the same time, man, it's always the circumstance of the game. I mean, if LSU beats Ole Miss, 33-10, I don't think they're rushing the field.
Yeah.
This game goes into overtime. It's emotional. LSU was down late in the game, come back. It's a big comeback win, and so that's not surprising to me. I was there in 2018 when we beat Georgia and rushed the field, and that was a big game. I think a turning point for the team at that point. So I get that one, but yeah, Ole Miss. It's the circumstances, and like you said, the kids are gonna do it, man. They're all hyped up, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. So just if you think, like you said, if you think you're gonna stop them from doing that in that situation, it's just not gonna happen.
Brian Burgess, Hunt, we've come to accept the fact you like to pick against LSU. I have picked against LSU one time the year. I don't know.
Well, Hunt, you have to understand that if you pick against LSU once, you've picked against them 10 times.
Hester told me in the hallway today that I wasn't allowed to enjoy the win because I picked Ole Miss.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's how it works.
Insane.
No. See, Hunt, you can't logically, process the game and decide that you don't think LSU is going to. Even though you're a fan, and obviously when you're a fan, you want LSU to win as much as possible. You can't logically break down the game.
The
and say
folks
they're
on
gonna
Tiger
lose.
Droppings said that I spent nothing all week dragging the program is what I was
That's what
told
you
on Tiger
did.
Droppings.
That's what you did, hon. I heard it all week.
It's an amazing conclusion to draw after that 10 hours of radio that I spent the entire time dragging the program. Sometimes I'm just kind of fascinated what people hear or how they choose to hear it. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're listening. I appreciate that very, very much. I just sometimes get a little puzzled at how that happens. Let's take a time out. We'll come back and after Sports Center talk about SEC games over the weekend. That's been hour number 1 of the Hunt Palmer Show. Genesis of Baton Rouge, brand new partner here of the Hunt Palmer Show, and thrilled to tell you about our friends at Genesis of Baton Rouge. When you think Genesis, you should think luxury. But when you think luxury, you don't have to think expensive. The Genesis brand is absolutely a luxury brand of vehicles, but it comes at a reasonable price. It's an experience to drive a Genesis, and you got to do it with the folks at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single new Genesis comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. It also comes with 3 years of complimentary maintenance, 3 years of valet complimentary maintenance. You need an oil change? Well, they'll come get your car at work. They'll drop a new one off to you so you have that if you need it during the day, and they'll go change your oils, deal with the windshield wipers, and then bring that car right back to you. There's a luxury experience that comes with the folks of Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're on Airline at PQ. You can check them out online. It's my friends at Genesis of Baton Rouge.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Nick DeLuca. College basketball top 25 is here. Kansas, the preseason #1 team in the country, receiving 30 first-place votes. Alabama in at number 2. Two-time defending national champion UConn at number 3. Top 2 tournament seeds Houston and Iowa State round out the top 5. Duke, preseason number 7. Big blow to the Commanders' defense. Star defensive tackle Jonathan Allen suffered a pec injury that is feared to be season-ending. Allen seeking a second opinion, has 2 sacks in 6 games this season. Tua Tagovailoa expected to return. 2023 NFL passing leader has been out since week 2. Won't play this week against the Colts. Dolphins 1-2 without him, 2-3 on the year. NLCS Game 2 this afternoon. Dodgers up 1-0 after the win yesterday. Going bullpen game today. Sean Manaea on the mound for New York. Coverage at 3:30 Eastern here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Yankees Guardians to follow. Coverage at 7 Eastern.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Tuesday. Lions, Ravens, or Texans? I'll tell you which team now sits atop my challengers to the Chiefs at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. Denton Day in 30 minutes talking about college football as a whole this season. I'll talk about the LSU defense coming up in 15 minutes. They did something in the secondary that we thought was coming. We just didn't know in what variation. We'll talk about that coming up next. But we each week on Monday to start hour number 2, look at the Southeastern Conference against the number and see how we did. Beck, we had a conversation on Friday. You told me I had to go with the Costanza picks, make sure that we went with the opposite. I said, forget that. We're going to get smart, and we're going to get these right.
Yeah, I did say that, and you got most of them right.
I did, 4-2. And you know what that means? That means we are above 500. For the first time in a number of weeks, we are now on the season 33-32. We have not been over 500 since week 1. We went 9-6.
So here's my theory though on this week, and you went 4-2. We're back to over 500, which is great. However, I believe that if you had gone Costanza, you would have went 6-0 because because here's the thing, I don't think even going Costanza, I don't think you're taking UMass over Missouri. That's just ridiculous. UMass is one of the worst teams in FBS. Even as Costanza, you're not.
It's
doing
at
that.
UMass on the road in Amherst.
No, you're still
in front of 17,000 crazy.
You're still going for Missouri on that one, and then Texas over Oklahoma. That's a toss-up. Maybe you take Oklahoma in that one, but the other ones, you're definitely taking Mississippi State over Georgia 33.5 at Costanza, and you're definitely taking South Carolina over Alabama. Minus 21 there on the Costanza because South Carolina hasn't been very good, but for some reason they would just almost win that game.
The deal is we got home with Missouri minus 28, Texas minus 14.5, Florida catching 14.5, and then Vandy. We loved the doors there and got
Anchor
it done.
down, Hunt. I don't know how many times I have to say it. They're moving inside the top 8, I think.
Inside the top 8?
They're already 10, so they got to keep going up. I mean, that's a big win.
I don't know if it's a big win.
It's a big win, Hunt.
Let's talk about some of the action. I think where I want to start here is actually South Carolina and Alabama, because I think the interesting thing is not necessarily that South Carolina had a 2-point conversion to try to tie it there late or that they got the onside kick. The interesting thing is that Alabama has now been in absolute dogfights the last 3 weeks. And you beat Georgia at the end. You lost to Vanderbilt. And then you had a tight game at home against South Carolina. And I know that Matt's made a big bit out of this and is having a ton of fun with it, and I quite enjoy that. But the reality is, whether Alabama fans want to talk about this or not, is that the days of them showing up and just absolutely annihilating everybody by 40 points are over. Like, they got into fights with LSU and Auburn through the years, But they didn't have to worry about dealing with Arkansas. They didn't have to really concern themselves much with Tennessee. They just blew those teams out. They just crushed Vanderbilt and Missouri more often than not. Ole Miss and A&M. I realize that Ole Miss got them twice in the Freeze era. I know that A&M got them the one time in Kyle Field, and then Johnny Manziel got them. But we're talking about a decade worth of action, and 8 times out of 10, they're dusting all these people. Those days are just done. Like, Alabama's defense right now is just not that good. Georgia went up and down the field the entire second half. Vanderbilt went up and down the field the entire game. And South Carolina is terrible on offense. And they found a way to move the football. Lenora Sellers threw for 238.
They outgained Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, they won the yardstick. And they're just not very good on defense right now. And you realize that Saban always had the best talent and was an elite coach, no matter the era. And the issue is that Alabama now has to play the sport with us. This was the tweet out I sent out on Saturday. I said, Alabama fans, it's fine. We all do this every week. We all sweat it every single week. Y'all have been sitting back in a rocking chair from Labor Day through Christmas for 16 years. You might have lost one here or there, but who cares? You were getting to Atlanta. You were getting into the BCS championship game. You were getting into the playoff. And then you played your meaningful games that mattered against Clemson or Georgia or Ohio State when you got there. Well, now you got to play by our rules because Kalen DeBoer might be a damn good coach. The odds are he probably is, but he's not going to do what just happened for 16 years. And that doesn't necessarily play out when you beat Georgia in a close game, but in back-to-back weeks after that, when you play Vanderbilt and South Carolina, who were probably the 2 worst programs over the course of the last 40 years in the SEC, and you put those results out there, that's the new reality. And that's what Matt's been saying, and we alluded to it the day that Nick Saban retired, before we even knew who the coach was going to be. We said that. And that's the situation. That doesn't mean Bama is going to go 8-4 every year. It doesn't mean they're not going to make the playoff this year. But they're going to be in dogfights with a lot of teams, and that has never been the case for the last almost 2 decades. Rest of the league, Quinn Ewers comes back. Texas muzzles Oklahoma. Oklahoma's offense is not good, not mediocre, not bad. It's abysmal. It is absolutely abysmal. Trying to watch them attempt to move the football is brutal. They averaged 2.3 yards per carry against Texas. And then Michael Hawkins can't throw. 4.9 yards a reception. You can't complete anything down the field. You can't run the ball and you can't stretch the field. Well, that makes playing defense real easy. All I got to look at is 8 yards and in. Okay, let's go. They don't have game changers at running back. They don't have game changers in the receiving core. They're hurt there. Their best receiver's out. And Hawkins is not very good. And all the while, you're looking up at Eugene, Oregon, and your old quarterback is running all over the place on Ohio State and winning huge games. They made a mistake letting Dylan Gabriel go, and they're in some trouble right now. And that's a team that has some losses coming because that schedule is absolutely brutal, and they can't score. So you look at what they've got coming. They play South Carolina, who can really rush the passer and has got some good players on defense. They play at Ole Miss, who's not going to be in a good mood. You still got Missouri, who's not great, I get it, but you still got to play them on the road. You've still got Alabama, and you've still got LSU. I mean, it is reasonable to look at Oklahoma's schedule right now. They are a 4-2 football team and think that they are going to lose 3, 4, 5, 6 times this year, 6-6. That's a tough intro to the Southeastern Conference for a program that has won its conference half of the last 36 years. So, nice win for Texas. I think they're as good as anybody. Oklahoma's got real significant problems. Tennessee beats Florida 23-17. Some issues from this game that I noticed. Tennessee shut out in the first half. I don't understand why their offense can't get up and get moving. It didn't look great against Oklahoma, and it didn't look great against Florida. It looked great against NC State, and you thought, okay, they figured it out with Nico. He just hasn't looked great. It certainly looked bad against Arkansas. So that's now really a month your offense has been in neutral. And Florida is not great on offense and allowed Tennessee to come back, take the lead. But then Florida scores that touchdown with 30 seconds left. And I'm sorry, Billy Napier, you need to go for 2. You've got a mobile quarterback. You're on the road. You're a lesser team. You got 3 yards to beat them and try to plant your flag in the ground and submit your job status, and you kick the extra point. That's trash. It's just trash. And I talked about this on the postgame show. I thought Brian Kelly's decision to go for 2 with Jaden Daniels as his quarterback against Alabama 2 years ago in 2022 was absolutely the right decision. And I also thought in the game on Saturday, it was the right decision to kick the extra point because you don't have a mobile quarterback and you can't run the ball and your completion percentage stinks and your defense is playing pretty good. And I realized that Florida had just gone down the field to score, so you feel okay about the way your offense played there and your defense has been pretty good all night. But hey, man, 3 yards. Like, you got to go get it. And you allowed yourself to get into an overtime situation and couldn't convert a field goal, and now you get beat with a touchdown. Poor coaching by Billy Napier. He's lost Graham Mertz for the year. That was reported earlier today, and I think you're looking at the end there for Billy Napier in Gainesville. Vanderbilt, we got to talk about it here at the end. Vanderbilt beats Kentucky 20-13 and really controlled this game throughout. It was more of the same from Kentucky on offense. For some reason, they got things clicking against Ole Miss. I'm not sure how, because I watched that Ole Miss defense in person over the weekend, and they are good. But Kentucky looked terrible on offense again, especially trying to throw the ball. And Vanderbilt kind of did what they do. They ran it 37 times and threw it 18. Diego Pavia ran it 14 times, more than any running back that they have. He kind of controlled things. He did throw his first interception of the year, but they controlled things on the ground, and they shortened the game and made Kentucky, which is a bad offense, try to score with limited possessions, and Kentucky couldn't do it. And Vanderbilt comes out of there with a win in a game that they control possession for 10 minutes more than Kentucky, and we know Kentucky is a possession team. So Vanderbilt's going to come into Tiger Stadium, and they're plucky. I just don't know if I love their ability to keep up with LSU. I know they did against Bama. I know they did. I don't know if I love them to do that, so I still like LSU in that game. But Vanderbilt certainly deserves a lot of credit, being 4-2, 2-1 in SEC play, wins over Alabama and Kentucky, and it's just another layer to this wild season in the SEC, where if you try to connect this big spider web of dots between Arkansas beating Tennessee and Vanderbilt beating Alabama and Kentucky beating Ole Miss and Vanderbilt beating Kentucky and Ole Miss annihilating South Carolina and South Carolina playing LSU close, and like there's just a lot of
almost beating Alabama.
Yeah, I mean it's week to week, and that's not generally been the case. And I don't know if this is portal related that makes it like the NFL, because if you watch the NFL and you watch that noon window every week, you see that come 3:05 there's like 4 games going down to the wire that are 3-point games. That's the NFL, and it's usually not college. College has 19-point spreads. College has 56-14 a lot, and it's just not showing up a lot right now. And even when Vandy's involved, it's not showing up. Even when the elite teams in the league are involved. Mississippi State lost by 10 points at Georgia. I don't know what to make of it, but it's starting to feel like this era of constant change and players playing for some different reasons, like maybe you're getting a more competitive product.
Yeah, and it's interesting because before or whenever NIL in the transfer portal first became a realization that it was going to be happening and we were going to have to just roll with it and see what happens with it, a lot of, myself included, a lot of people thought that this was going to actually widen the disparity because you're going to have the best players at these smaller schools.
It has in college baseball.
Yeah,
it's widened the things in college baseball. The SEC kicks everyone's butt every
single year. Yeah, every single week. But and you thought that was going to happen in football and other sports too, because the best players from the smaller teams would transfer up to the bigger teams, and the smaller teams would just keep losing their best players, and the disparity would just grow stronger. But it's surprisingly not really gone that way so far. I mean, Diego Pavia maybe doesn't go to Vanderbilt if not for the transfer portal, and he's completely changed that team, their offense. They've been able to effectively shorten games and control the ball, and they've had a pretty solid to decent defense that's been able to make enough plays for them to win some games. And so, it's interesting, man. It's pretty surprising. Like I said, I didn't see it coming. I thought the disparity would even widen, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's actually going the other way.
We'll see. LSU's defense did some really good things back on Saturday night. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com is the website. Robbie Bolton, about 2 decades here in Baton Rouge as a licensed physical therapist. His team is fantastic, and they pride themselves on the hands-on nature of the rehabilitation there at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. They do the soft tissue manipulation, dry needling, cupping, scraping, and they're going to get you back to feeling like your active self. They can monitor it with the isokinetic testing they can do. They can see how quickly and how continuously that strength is coming back, no matter where the injury is, knee, arm, shoulder, back, elbow, wherever your pain is and whatever was the source of that pain, you got to get rid of it to get back to being your active self. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports can help you with that. They're happy to help you with the youth athlete. If there's been an injury in youth sports, if you're up in age and you're trying to get back on the golf course or to working out the way that you like to and you can't right now, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports needs to be your place to go. They're on Starring near Highland Road. You can check them out online, evolvept.com. Tell Robbie Bolton and his team that you heard about it on the Hunt Palmer Show. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Congratulations to Cecil Thomas from St. Francisville. Cecil is the Week 7 winner in our 2024 College Football Pick'em Contest and wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Don't forget to make your picks for round 8 by this Thursday at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10 people, and the first place season-long champion will get a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV and soundbar plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters.
Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. Denton Day with us in about 12 minutes. Got a pro football focus story up at LouisianaSports.net showing the 5 highest graded players and 5 lowest graded players for LSU in the game against Ole Miss. But the other piece to that article, something I want to talk about here, is the LSU secondary and specifically the safety rotations. We heard Brian Kelly say back after LSU played South Alabama that the rolling in 6 safeties was going to stop. And I told you last week, I was like, I believe him. I have no idea who the 2 or 3 he's going to settle on will be. I don't know if you're going with youth and talent. I don't know if you're going with veterans and experience. I don't know if it's some sort of blend. I don't know if it's game to game. I don't know if it's coverage guys you need or if it's guys that come down and play the run, tackling. Like I don't know what he's looking for. Well, it was pretty obvious because LSU's defense played 87 snaps in the game on Saturday night. 87 snaps. You look at the snap counts on Pro Football Reference. Sage Ryan played 86 of 87 snaps. He was off the field for 1 play. Furthermore, Jordan Gilbert played 85. He was off the field for 2 plays. You look at Major Burns in the star position, he played 84 snaps. He was off the field for 3 plays. Deshaun Spears, who we thought we might see a good amount of, 3 snaps. Kylan Jackson, freshman, 1 snap. Javian Toviano, the backup to Burns at star, 3 snaps. They went with the veteran players at safety in this game. Almost exclusively. Just a handful of snaps dispersed between Spears, Jackson, Toviano, those guys. They wanted the old guys on the field. And I thought LSU played okay. Yeah, you let the 50-yard run go from midfield. Looked like you had that stopped, and the momentum of Bentley stopped. He stopped, and then he bounces to the outside, and you had one guy try to make a tackle and couldn't do it. And he goes to 50 yards. But outside of that, I thought they were pretty good. You got a huge break early in the game, third snap. One of the 2. And Trey Harris drops an 80-yard touchdown. I mean, right down the seam. Dart drops it right in the bucket. Most productive wide receiver in America just dropped it. You got a break there, no question. But I thought LSU's vets in the secondary did a pretty good job. At corner, you weren't rotating. Zy Alexander, 87 snaps of the 87. Every one, Zy Alexander was out there. On the other side, Ashton Stamps, 87 out of 87 snaps. He played the entire game. And Zy Alexander had the highest Pro Football Focus grade of any player on LSU's team. He graded out 88.6 for the game. His coverage was an 89. That is an astronomical grade. Grades in the 70s are not bad. Grades in the low 80s into the upper 80s, that's elite stuff. Nobody scores in the 90s. It's very, very rare. So for Zy Alexander to score an 89 on his coverage grade is impressive. And on the other side, you had Ashton Stamps. His coverage grade wasn't as good, 65.8, but he was good in a couple of pass rush snaps. And his defensive grade there at 67 was okay. But you went with a bunch of the older guys. Stamps is the exception to that. Is kind of a true sophomore. They decided that's what they were going to roll with. Now we'll see, because you're about to flip things. You went from facing a tempo team that has a veteran quarterback that can be pretty prolific on offense, that's going to throw the ball a good bit, to this coming week where you might face a really green quarterback, or Taylon Green at quarterback. That was an unintentional, awful pun. It'll either be Taylon Green or a green quarterback, meaning a young player. Thank you very much for that, Beck. Completely unintentional. But it's going to be a more physical running style that's not going to be as up-tempo. Does that mean you put some different guys out there? I don't know. We'll just have to see. But it was clear they had a plan on Saturday, and they stuck to it. I can't go too much further on the defense without talking about Whit Weeks and Braden Swinson. Whit Weeks has a career-high 18 tackles. He's named the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Had a pass breakup, forced a fumble before the half, had a sack right there at the end of regulation, 2 TFLs. He was all over the field. He was incredible. And we know that Whit Weeks, to this point, a year and a half into his LSU career, we know he can show up and get you the highlight play. He's really fast, and he can hit. He plays with some aggression, and like he can make the highlight reel play. But he can also be out of position. And you saw in the South Carolina game, his run fit was bad, and Rocket Sanders off left end took it 70. And that's a play that Whit was in the wrong place, and that's something that you've got to clean up. And so Saturday, to me, was the most complete game he's ever played. He was in position. He didn't miss tackles. He made, in fact, a ton of tackles. And Pro Football Focus graded him out as an 84.3, which is awesome. His tackling grade was sensational at 87.2. That's a guy who's getting people on the ground. And then for Swinson, his pass rush grade was actually not as great at just 65. He did have 2 sacks, and he's got a chance now with 7 sacks through 6 games to break Arden Key's record of 12 sacks in a season at LSU. But his run blocking grade run defense grade was really good at 77.9, knocking on 80's door there. That was a really strong effort by Braden Swinson. Those 2 guys were excellent. The defensive play was quality, especially in the secondary with some of those older guys. And again, you didn't dominate Ole Miss. You didn't stuff the run. But you created some turnovers. You got big red zone stops. Ole Miss came up completely empty, 0 points in their first 2 red zone tries thanks to a missed field goal and then a stop 4th and 1. You got some big plays on 4th down. You forced some punts when you had to have it, and Ole Miss was going down there to take a 2-score lead. They're getting better. They're making progress. And that's, at this point, very evident. And Brian Kelly's teams have improved over the course of time since he's been here. The team that beat Alabama in 22 was significantly better than the team that lost to Florida State. And last year, LSU's offense toward the end of the year was way better than it was against Florida State. The defense never showed those marked improvements, but the offense did. And now you're seeing the defense do it this year. I feel like LSU's got a championship-level defensive staff. They got to keep recruiting and keep developing, but you're seeing some results right now. And I thought Saturday was very, very encouraging from that point of view. LSU wins it 29-26 inside Tiger Stadium. Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying needs. Find our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products. We'll step aside. Come back with Denton Dave, Sirius XM's College Football Overtime. We'll talk some national college football on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services, boudreauxelectrical.com. Saw Justin Boudreaux on Friday at Lod Cook. Also saw him out there on campus getting ready for LSU and Ole Miss. His parents, Neil and Melissa, have been running things for 40 years down there in Napoleonville. If you are interested in a Generac home standby generator, there are places to get them. You have options. I'm telling you, you should choose Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Every Generac generator comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty. You've got a full-time employee that's doing all the installation. They're going to do most of it underground with the highest quality in copper and tubing so that it's aesthetically pleasing and functional. And they're going to monitor it 24 hours a day. So if something happens, whether it's an issue with someone doing something to it or just mechanical failure, they'll know if there's an issue. They can send a tech out there to get it fixed so that when your power does fail, Boudreaux's Electrical's generator throws on and you are all set. Hopefully we're getting hurricane season into the rearview mirror. I'd really like that, but you know that another one's always coming. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing you're not going to lose power. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can call them at 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or in the 225 at 300-9389. BoudreauxElectrical.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 9.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hope your work week is off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. This time on Mondays, we always head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline, chat with our guy Denton Day, college football overtime on Sirius XM. He joins us now. Denton, how we doing?
Hunt, I'm well. Not as well as you guys are. A heck of a win for LSU late this weekend. How about that?
I would push back. I think you're pretty good. That was a heck of a day in college football. We got our little slice of heaven for the nightcap, but it was great from start to finish. No.
No, it was spectacular. I mean, from that early window where you had South Carolina pushing Alabama, which, I mean, I'm not saying Lenore's Sellers missed that because he didn't have rec specs on. I'm just saying he wasn't wearing rec specs and he missed the throw. You know what I mean? So, and then you got to the mid window, which was all right. You got Tennessee and Florida, which was really fun down the wire. But that late window was everything that we hoped it was going to be between Ole Miss and LSU, and then the Ohio State-Oregon game. It was it lived up to the hype, which is tough to do because it was the most hyped weekend that we've had this year, but it lived up to it for sure.
Let's talk big picture here before we get into specific games. I'm looking at Vanderbilt beating Alabama and South Carolina hanging with them. I'm looking at Mississippi State hanging around in the first half with Texas and with Georgia for a little bit. Arkansas beats Tennessee. Florida's hanging with Tennessee. Tennessee goes to Oklahoma and wins. South Carolina either gets dominated by Ole Miss or is tight with LSU or beats Kentucky. Like, it's just, there's more parity than I can remember. Do you have a good explanation for that?
I wish I did. I mean, I think you can maybe, if you have like an agenda to push, it's transfer portal or NIL or balancing the field. But what I think it really comes down to, Hunt, is there's not a lot of exceptional quarterbacks. And when you don't have an exceptional quarterback, it feels like you end up being a little bit more vulnerable. And there's good quarterbacks, certainly. I think Quinn Ewers, good quarterback. I would say he might even be a great quarterback. Jalen Milroe is a fine quarterback that has his moments. But like that, I mean, he's a great example because he makes some mistakes that traditionally we are not used to seeing Alabama quarterbacks make. And because the rest of their team isn't iconically strong, you say the same thing about Georgia. Like Carson Beck, good quarterback, makes some mistakes, but they don't have this iconic defense that they've had in years past. I think it allows for a little bit more of a level playing field. And then I love Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt because I don't think he knows that they're not supposed to be good, and that's so much fun. Like, he just has this, it's almost arrogance in the best way possible that we're going to push anybody no matter what kind of game we're going to play in. So I think that it really just comes down to, if you look across the conference, you can even expand this a little further to the country, there's not a lot of exceptional quarterbacks, which means everybody is capable of losing on any given week.
I made the comment to my friends that I think Nussmeier might be the quarterback I took second in a draft of SEC quarterbacks for college football purposes. I think Ewers is probably first, but I think I could make an argument for Nussmeier second in this league. Is that a fair statement to make?
I would agree with that statement. I think 2 weeks ago, actually, how about 3 weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago, but 3 weeks ago, people would have argued for Jackson Dart when they were just looking at the non-con, and then you start to play SEC teams, and all of a sudden, this dude who was putting up massive numbers that landed him on graphics with Mac Jones and Joe Burrow, he is much more human. So I think Nussmeier is definitely the second pick. Let me just real quickly make sure I'm not forgetting anybody.
I mean, it's a discussion. It's like Carson Beck, Jackson Dart. I don't think anybody's taking Brady Cook at this point. I don't think anybody's taking Nico. I'm looking around. Wigman's been up and down. I mean, Lagway. I look at it and I'm kind of. I mean, Pavia. I think there's a real case to be made there. And Milroe is the one that I'm not talking about. But I'm pretty comfortable with the guy LSU's got taking snaps.
Yeah, I would be too. Jalen Milroe is such a fascinating case because he makes big plays when you need him to make a big play, but he also, some of the plays that he made against South Carolina were just he should be past that, especially working with a guy like Kalen DeBoer. We know his pedigree. And at this point, I know there's some Alabama fans, I'm sure, that are blaming Kalen DeBoer for the lack of success of Jalen Milroe. I think we've seen enough with DeBoer and the way that he runs offenses, the way that he helps quarterbacks, to point at Milroe and say this is more on him. He needs to get better in terms of processing and decision making, and he's not there. So I definitely say that Nussmeier's 2 in the SEC behind Quinn Ewers at 1.
Bigger win for LSU or loss for Ole Miss on Saturday?
Oh, much bigger loss for Ole Miss,
yeah.
Which is not to take away the win for LSU, but I have 2 losses and it's mid-October. And you were supposed to be one of the teams with Penn State, and Penn State is actually benefiting from this in the expanded college football playoff, to where, all right, you have a little bit of breathing room. That doesn't mean you turn around and lose to Kentucky early and then drop your second game of the season in early to mid-October with, some of the teams that Ole Miss is going to have to play against, assuming they don't go perfect, which is based off of what we've seen. They're not going to go perfect. I don't think that Lane Kiffin is on the hot seat per se, but this is certainly not what they expected when all of the changes that struck college football this year took place.
What do we make of Alabama being in a dogfight with South Carolina after losing to Vanderbilt? Is it just quarterback play, or is there more to this?
It's quarterback play, and I don't think their defense is as strong as we are accustomed to seeing in Alabama defense. I think a lot of it is the Jalen Milroe effect, but there are guys that just seem to be a little lost and a little out of place on defense. And, South Carolina might be better than people give them credit for, but they're not awesome. And the fact that they had some issues with South Carolina and they had lost to Vanderbilt and allowed Vanderbilt to give up 40, and the week prior they had blown a 28-0 lead to Georgia. We loved that game because we're fans,
yeah,
and it was just a great football game. But from the perspective of Alabama, you guys were up 28-0, and it was a ball game towards the end of it. That shouldn't happen. So defensively, they're lacking a little bit. Not just Jalen Milroe, but it is mostly Jalen Milroe.
All right, let's go to the Big Ten. Ohio State and Oregon, just a classic. The Ducks get a signature win there for Dan Lanning. What'd you think?
I loved the win for Dan Lanning. I thought you finally saw some of his, I call it creative aggressiveness, but you saw that creative aggressiveness finally amount to something and amount to a big win. I would really challenge teams in any conference to pay attention to what goes on outside of your conference. Will Howard has to know you have to throw it on that final play. You cannot
know what he's doing.
Cannot slide. A week after Nico Y struck out looking against Arkansas, Will Howard strikes out looking against Oregon. You just have to have more situational awareness of what's going on. So I was really bummed for Will Howard how that played out, but a massive win for Dan Lanning and Oregon. This gives him confidence, and that's nobody in the Big Ten wants to see Oregon with confidence.
All right, let's go to the other one, weirdly in the Big Ten out in the Coliseum. Penn State gets way behind, and they scrap all the way back and win it in overtime 33-30. We know the MO for Penn State and what they've been. They beat the teams that aren't very good, and they lose to the really good ones. I don't know what USC is at this point. They're 3-3, but it's probably a big win for James Franklin.
Massive win for James Franklin. Also massive for those of us that had USC covering 4. Eventually, there was a field goal that ended not a touchdown in overtime. But this was Drew Aller. I thought this was his best game as a college quarterback. The throws that he made in a clutch moment was massive. And Tyler Warren was awesome. He was the best athlete on the field in that ball game. But the throws that Drew Aller was able to make in those spots was really, really impressive. And I'm with you. I don't really know what USC is. I was down on them. I had them under 7.5 wins, and that's starting to get a little bit more validated as the season progresses, as they lose some of these winnable games. But I think if you're Penn State, you just take it for what it is. Our quarterback made some big-time throws when people criticize him for not being able to do so, and we escaped with a win going all the way across the country, which is now normal in college football, but still a little weird. I think it was a very good weekend for Penn State.
Do we think BYU is the class of the Big 12? I realize that they beat up on an Arizona team that's not great, but they're 6-0.
I would say for now, yes, but I don't know if there's a conference that I distrust more than the Big 12, just knowing that we used to have Pac-12 after dark, right? Well, now that the Pac-12 is extinct, at least for a year, it's going to become Big 12 after dark. I don't know who it's going to be, but there's going to be someone on BYU's schedule that maybe a lot of us don't anticipate to push them that's going to end up pushing them. So I think they're in a good spot right now, but eventually there's going to be this weird game late where they might end up letting one slip through their fingers here. But I definitely think that they are the best team that we've seen so far in the Big 12 because, Lord knows what's happening to Utah. We finally got Cam Rising back, and it was not pretty at all.
No, it wasn't. Let's look at the week to come. The SEC kind of taking the headlines with two big matchups in the top 15. Alabama headed to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, tied our 2.5-point favorite there. I don't know what to make of this one. What you got?
I wish this game happened like 2 weeks earlier when we still were of the belief that Tennessee's offense was good, because right now I don't look at them as being all that impressive. Yeah, I think they were this is impressive, but they were on like a 4-week pump fake, convincing us that they were really, really good on that side of the football when they really just weren't. So I think it could be a wacky game, which could be fun for those that don't have a dog in the fight, but I don't anticipate that it's going to be a classic the way that we might have looked at it, Bama, Georgia, or Oregon and Ohio State, or Ole Miss and LSU. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. I think it's going to be sloppy with a lot of points, but maybe not the most enjoyable watch if you're a big fundamentalist.
I have a good sense that it's going to be a pretty good one in Austin, Texas. I think Georgia will be ready to play in that game. I don't know if they'll win, but I think they'll be ready to play in that game. Georgia at Texas, 6:30 on ABC. Texas, 3.5-point choice in that one. How do you see it?
I like Texas in this one. I do agree with you that it's going to be a fun one. This should be the classic of the weekend. I thought it was really, really smart and really important that Quinn Ewers played this weekend. If you were just going to throw him out after a 3-week hiatus against Georgia, that's a tough ask. But doing it against Oklahoma, knowing that Oklahoma's defense is a damn good defense, but you have the luxury of them not having a quarterback, so it gives you a little bit of time to shake off the rust, which ended up working for Texas. I think you're going to see Quinn Ewers at his best. And this might be the defining game of his career in college. He's played some good ones, but this might be the one, knowing everything that's at stake here, and it might supplement or supplant Texas as the team to beat in the SEC. When coming into the season, everybody thought it was going to be Georgia.
Georgia loses this football game, a spot in Atlanta kind of opens up. That'd be their second conference loss, and all of a sudden you can kind of sneak around them, which hasn't been the case for 3 years here in the Southeastern Conference, so we'll see how that goes. Last one here, Denton. Appreciate your time. Hangover spot for LSU at Arkansas. Tigers are 3-point favorites up there. Is there a bit of concern with that?
Maybe a little bit of concern because Arkansas is in the same spot as Vanderbilt, where sometimes they're a little too good for their own doing. But I think LSU coming off that big win, I think Brian Kelly's going to have the guys all right. And you just mentioned, like, if Georgia loses this weekend, there's a spot available in an SEC championship game. Still a lot of season left, but LSU's in a really good striking spot as long as they can take it week by week and not allow themselves to fall into any traps.
We'll see. This is a big one, but it's obvious to everyone, so we'll see if the Tigers do respond. Either way, Denton will be talking about it on SiriusXM after they all go final on college football overtime coming up on Saturdays with us every single Monday. Thanks, man.
Hunt, appreciate it as always, man.
Let's come back and close out hour number 2 in a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. I always talk about commercial property and casualty insurance because that's kind of the bread and butter there at the Highland Insurance Group. But they also are fantastic with your group and employee benefits. If you're a business owner, you understand how important the benefits part of running that business is. It's great to attract people with great benefits. It's also great to keep people with great benefits. And there's an expense involved in all those insurance costs, and you want to make sure that those are being managed properly. And I can promise you the Highland Insurance Group will do that. They do it all day, every day, and are happy to help you with that. Talk about property and casualty as well. Hurricane season hopefully winding down here. We'll see. But it's not just hurricane season where you need property and casualty insurance and you need to make sure that everything's in place. Car accidents happen. Cyber breaches happen. Employee lawsuits, unfortunately, they happen. You want to make sure that you're covered all across the board, and the folks at the Highland Insurance Group will help you do that. Check them out online at HighlandIG.com. Give Jonathan Carbo and his team a call. They're right here in Baton Rouge, but they can help you out statewide no matter where you are listening to us here in Baton Rouge. They're online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hockey is back in Baton Rouge. The Baton Rouge Zydeco opened the 2024-25 season against the Biloxi Seawolves Thursday, October 17th. That's this Thursday, October 17th, at the Raising Cane's River Center. Register at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win tickets to opening weekend. For more information or to purchase tickets, visit RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com.
So, got a question here. I want both of you to weigh in.
Okay.
Because we got Will Campbell coming down the hill once again in just a preposterous suit Ryan Clark is on ESPN right now. He's kind of got it working. We're talking about suits that have like a lot of different colors, not like a pattern. It's like the suit's green over here and blue over here and like big, bold color transitions. Do we think they're like out in front of this, or this is just too much?
I think it's too much. I think it seems like the last 5 years, the sports like intro for players, like in all sports, so the guys walking in to the arena or to like for LSU walking down Victory Hill with these crazy suits. I think Cam Newton and Russell Westbrook are to blame here. But unfortunately, it seems like that's just become the norm of just wearing something that's so outlandish that you're going to get noticed.
Cassie, are we thinking that the bold fashion choices are where you need to be, or do guys need to rein it in a little bit?
No, I think it's a little too much.
Okay. I mean, I tend to agree. Again, Jake from State Farm, I'm wearing khakis and a golf shirt every day, so what are we going to do? But, I mean, look, I'm looking at Orlovsky. He's got the classic going. Marcus Spears is on there. He's got the classic going. And RC's got a lot going on.
There's nothing wrong with wearing something unique or something that's, different than just a regular, like, Navy, suit or something like that. But let's just try not to get not too crazy. Like, just something that's interesting or, different, but doesn't have to be just absurd. That's the way I look at it.
Let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The LSU men's basketball team was ranked 51st overall and 12th in the SEC in the first edition of the Kim Palm ratings, usually one of the more well-regarded, regarded rankings for college basketball. And they were also picked 14th, finished 14th in the league in the SEC media poll. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I mean, look, I would not rule out LSU finishing 14th under any circumstance. I think they're better than that. I think they're closer to 11th.
Yeah.
And if you're 11th, you're knocking on the door of 9 or 10. They got 8 into the tournament last year with Oklahoma and Texas. You think 10's an opportunity? I think they're right on the precipice. I don't think they're a top 5 team in the league. Obviously, Bama was ranked 2nd in this poll. But I think they're right in the middle of the league, which is right in the middle of the bubble. It just depends kind of on what they do in the last 4 minutes of all these tight SEC games I think they're going to play. So I think it's fair. I don't think it's laughable or unreasonable, but I hope it's a little bit better than that.
Yeah, 14th may be a little bit much in my opinion, but that could be the floor. I could see that for the season. But moving on here, Philadelphia 76ers center Joel Embiid in a recent interview with ESPN's Tim Bontemps said about playing in back-to-backs, if I had to guess, I would probably never play back-to-backs the rest of my career. Take it or leave it.
I'll probably leave that. I think it's possible to play back-to-back.
Yeah, I think so.
I think at some point in the rest of his career, he'll do it at least once. But you know my stance on this. Like, if the Philadelphia 76ers think the best thing to do for them to win a championship is for Joel Embiid to play 75% of the season, then he should play 75% of the season. I know the implications that fans pay to go to the games, fans pay to watch on TV, commercials pay for those eyeballs. Like, I got all that. I got it all. But in my estimation, if you're in an NBA basketball team, you should not be running the basketball team to try to maximize ad revenue. You should be trying to win the championship.
Yeah.
That'll take care of your ad revenue. And if they think that's what's best for Joel Embiid, then do it. Fine. If he needs to take a week off, he can. Whatever.
Yeah. If the NBA, if Adam Silver, if they don't want this to happen, then you have to put levy penalties on teams for doing these things. But at the end of the day, the team's going to do its best for the team, and if it's that's what they think it is, then that's what they're going to do. Next one here, AT&T Stadium, of course, the Cowboys' home. Their X account tweeted a picture from inside the stadium last night with a graphic about how many fans were there, 93,644. That's a good number. But the photo was from inside. You could obviously see the giant scoreboard, the giant video board, but they blurred out the score on the giant Jumbotron, blurring out the score when you're getting blown out. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. If we were doing it so people wouldn't immediately jump on the scoreboard and make comments, then we have to leave it. If we were doing it as some sort of a joke, like, hey, we know the score's bad, let's just not look at it, fine. It's a matter of context. I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But next one today is a must-win for the Mets in L.A. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. Look, they've got Minaya going. He's been good for them, and you can come back from 2-0 down. but you really don't want to go down 2-0 because then you get back home and you have to win Game 3, and that's just an uncomfortable way to go play a baseball game. The Mets have been incredible. They're never say die. They've been down in the count late in the ninth, and they've figured things out. But they would really do themselves a favor to go ahead and win. They got destroyed last night. So we'll see that game coming up in 12 minutes on Fox. Yankees and Guardians tonight from Yankee Stadium. Carlos Rodon will be on the mound against Alex Cobb for Cleveland. So that's it for Take It or Leave It. That's it for our Monday shows. Brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can find us as well as on YouTube. 30 minutes to start the show on LSU. We also touched on the New Orleans Saints. You can find those at Hunt on Saints or Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Thanks to Denton Day for wrapping things up in college football. We'll step aside. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further View. We're back same time, same place tomorrow on The Hunt Palmer Show.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. When you think Genesis, you need to think luxury because it is absolutely a luxury brand of vehicles. Every single model in the Genesis line, from the entry level all the way to the highest end model, they all come with the same safety features, and they are among the safest vehicles on the road. The entire line was given the IIHA top safety pick, and some were given the top safety pick plus. You understand that with that luxury vehicle, it's going to be sleek, it's going to look incredible, it's going to drive wonderfully, but it's also going to be very, very safe. You can check them out on genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every car that's on the lot currently at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Stop on by their Airline and Piku. It's a wonderful experience over there at the brand new dealership. When you're thinking about a new car, think about Genesis and think about my friends over at Genesis of Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985